Many engineering teams reach a point where their monolithic application begins to buckle. Builds slow down, and developers frequently block each other's progress. Organizations adopt microservices to give these teams autonomy and allow specific components to scale based on actual demand. The theoretical vision is pristine. You break apart the massive, tangled codebase into dozens of identical, perfectly isolated services that run entirely on their own. Yet, in practice, release cycles often slow down, deployments remain tightly coupled, and a failure in one obscure service triggers cascading outages across the entire platform. Successful microservices focus on creating meaningful business boundaries rather than simply reducing the size of codebases. Splitting an application along technical layers, separating the user interface from the business logic, creates the distributed monolith anti-pattern. This architecture requires drawing strict boundaries around business domains, isolating data ownership, and building heavy operational infrastructure to manage the space between services. The complexity once contained within the application's memory is now distributed across the network infrastructure. The absolute first step in building a microservices architecture is defining the service boundary. A boundary dictates what a service owns, and more importantly, what it does not. This illustrates a technically driven approach. The system is separated by function, controller, logic, and database. Because these layers rely on each other, they are tightly coupled. A change in the logic service forces a coordinated deployment across the others. Domain-driven design offers an alternative. It aligns system boundaries strictly with business capabilities. Using a bounded context, a customer model in billing differs from one in support. Independent models prevent confusion. The technical graph is replaced by isolated functional blocks: order management, payment, and inventory. Each microservice fully owns its domain logic, APIs, deployment, and operational health. Independence is achieved through these logical boundaries. A service's value is determined by the business domain it represents, not by the amount of code it contains. For services to be truly independent, each one must exclusively own its own data. Look at these isolated stacks. Sharing a single database destroys autonomy. But with isolated databases, traditional ACID transactions are impossible. If a user places an order, order and payment pulse green, but an inventory failure flashes red, halting progression and leaving an inconsistent state. To maintain consistency in a distributed system, engineers use the saga pattern. It uses compensating actions. When the inventory failure occurs, the system triggers a workflow pointing backwards to cancel the payment authorization and mark the order as failed. This data isolation guarantees deployment autonomy, but it requires engineers to design complex, explicit workflows to handle failures that a monolith's database would manage automatically. Because services and databases are isolated, they must communicate over a network, requiring a specific choice in protocols. Synchronous communication creates direct, real-time dependencies. In this chain, service A calls B, which calls C. A single timeout multiplies risk. When node D drops offline, the failure cascades backwards. Services C, B, and A turn red sequentially, illustrating total system collapse. Asynchronous communication is more resilient. A service publishes an event to a central bus and immediately continues its work. Downstream services pull that data whenever they are ready. This allows new services, like an analytics engine or an email notification worker, to react to system changes without the original service ever knowing they were added. While this decouples services, it demands strict API governance. Removing a single data field from an event can silently break every downstream consumer that relies on that packet. Asynchronous events prevent cascading failures, but they require rigorous contract discipline to keep the ecosystem stable. Distributed systems operate over chaotic physical networks that will inevitably drop packets, sever connections, or experience unpredictable latency spikes. Code must be built to survive these drops, using patterns like timeouts, retries with backoff, and circuit breakers that stop traffic to failing nodes. This creates a highly unique and complex debugging challenge. You can no longer look at one log to understand why a user's request failed across a dozen independent services. Distributed tracing solves this by stamping every incoming request with a unique correlation ID at the API gateway. This ID acts as a digital fingerprint. When a sub-request hits a bottleneck, engineers use it to filter through aggregated logs and pinpoint the failing node. You absolutely cannot fix a distributed failure that you cannot trace. Complete system observability is strictly mandatory for microservices. To achieve independent release cycles, every service needs a fully automated CI/CD pipeline. Writing security, routing, and metric gathering code inside every single service leads to duplicated effort and potential vulnerabilities. A service mesh handles these operational burdens. Sidecar proxies attach to the outside of every service node. They form a glowing web, handling mutual TLS encryption, retries, and metrics universally, managing traffic without touching the inner business logic. While effective, a service mesh introduces a new layer of configuration and significant infrastructure overhead to the stack. This represents the ultimate operational cost. It is a powerful tool for enterprise-scale traffic, but it is often overkill for small teams. There is a sharp contrast between the development simplicity of a monolith and the heavy operational infrastructure required to manage a microservices ecosystem. Because every service requires its own dedicated database, pipeline, and monitoring, the organization must be structured into small, autonomous units that own those specific domains. This is the practical application of Conway's Law. The software architecture will mirror the communication and management structure of the teams that build it. A team lacking clear domain ownership or mature DevOps practices will struggle to manage the distributed complexity we have explored. For those organizations that are truly ready to scale, the Strangler Fig pattern provides a manageable, incremental path forward. Instead of a complete rewrite, teams incrementally extract one high-change domain at a time. This new service connects back to the monolith through an API gateway, allowing the rest of the system to continue functioning normally. Successful extraction involves redesigning data ownership, establishing asynchronous communication, and automating deployment for every service pulled from the monolith. Microservices are a high-cost trade-off. They should only be adopted when the business reaches a scale that a well-structured monolith can no longer support.